Hello, everyone. I am Parul, and I have my beautiful friend Beck with me again today, and we are back in our series of videos. And today we thought we are going to talk to you all about jealousy and comparison, because that's something that's been coming up for a lot of our clients. And these are just such common feelings that no matter how much work we do on ourselves, we will often confront these feelings within ourselves at some point in life or the other. So today we're going to walk you through what is jealousy, how can you start to work with this feeling within yourself, and the kind of steps that you can take to come out of this.
Thanks, Parul. Hi, everyone. It's good to be back here with Parul talking about this topic. And yeah, I think you summed it up in your intro, Parul. But yeah, we know that the comparison in particular comes up with a lot of clients that we speak with. It's something natural, I guess, that we all do. We compare ourselves to other people or other situations, and this feeling of jealousy can often come up, but it's certainly not an emotion that serves us in the long term. So we really wanted to talk about breaking it down and some of the steps that we can take to moving out of it. So that's where this came from. So we hope that it's very helpful to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that, Beck. So let's begin. Let's talk about what is jealousy. Why do we compare ourselves to others? What happens within us when we're jealous? What often happens when we're jealous of someone that we are unconsciously just engaging in these thoughts of feeling like we are not good enough. And that's the loop that's going on in our mind unconsciously when we are looking at someone else, whether it's in a relationship or it's in, like in career. And we are basically sitting with these feelings of not feeling like we are good enough, or that we don't have something that someone else has. Like it could be with respect to your relationship, for example. It could be that, oh, I'm not good looking enough, or I'm not confident in bed, or I need to be XYZ in order for my partner to like me. And that's why I am jealous of that person that my partner might be speaking to. Or even in some cases, jealous of a hypothetical person that, just living in this constant fear of losing what you have, losing your partner to someone else. So I'm sure you can make out as I'm talking that these feelings and these thoughts are coming from a place of lack. It's coming from this place of, well, because I'm not good enough, I might lose my partner to someone else. Yeah. And just to also touch on this quickly in terms of career, often the thing that happens is that, we'd be working with people, or we'd be working with someone in our team or another team, and we'd be scared that they will either overtake us, that if we share our knowledge, someone else might get promoted, someone else might be seen in better light. And again, these feelings once again come from the whole thinking process of feeling like you need to hold on to information, or you need to be XYZ in order to be seen as better than someone else. While if you were to now imagine being very confident in yourself, being very, very empowered in yourself, feeling good about yourself, knowing that, yes, you are good looking, you are doing your best, you are unique and you are amazing in your own way, and what you can contribute, no one else can bring that to the table. That is a completely different feeling of confidence. And that is something that is going to slowly make you compare yourself less to other people.
Yeah. Some excellent points in there, Parul. And I think, you really hit on one there. I'm not sure if you said the actual word, but when we're feeling jealous, we're actually feeling threatened, aren't we? We're threatened by someone, whether it be another person in a relationship, in that example that you were giving, in the workplace. We might be threatened that somebody's going to take our job, or make us redundant or something like that. And as you're saying, it really comes back to how we feel about ourselves. It's actually got very little, if anything, to do with the other person that we are feeling jealous about. It's got to do with how we feel about ourselves, just bringing that point home that you brought up.
Totally, 100%. And yeah, it's so good to make that distinction that it's not the other person's fault. And we often just start to hate the other person inside us, right? Like we want to stay away from them. We find faults in them, and we're engaging in these thoughts against the other person in our head when all they've done is that they're being themselves. They're probably not even touching our life in any way. And then we start to cook these stories, which are coming from a place of insecurity within ourselves. Like now we know a little bit about what jealousy is, what comparison is, where is this feeling coming from? And I'm sure now you're sitting there wondering, well, okay, great. I understand what jealousy is, but the whole point is that I want to address this. I'm sure none of us wants to sit and feel jealous and feel unhappy about ourselves, right? So let's talk about understanding this and identifying this feeling within you and starting to come out of it. So how can you do that? Step one is always to start becoming aware of this thought process and cycle that's happening inside you, inside your mind, and start to then acknowledge that you are sitting with these feelings. Start to accept it. That is where acknowledging, acceptance, awareness, this is where the step one of changing something starts. So when you become aware of it, when you start to accept that, okay, well, I'm feeling jealous, this is what's going on in my head, but I want to help myself and I want to stop engaging with these feelings. That is the starting point for your change.
Absolutely. And I think this is an important point to make. And I know that both of us talk about this quite a lot in our coaching with our clients, is that this is often the time when we feel these feelings that we distract ourselves. We run away from them. We find something else to do. We find a new person to bring into our life. We go, this doesn't feel right. This feels uncomfortable. So I'm going to bury the feeling, or I'm going to ignore it completely. But as each of you who has worked with us in the past, or even if you haven't, we know that that doesn't make it go away. It's like taking medication for something. It simply masks a symptom. It doesn't actually treat the root cause. So it's a really important point that you've made there, Parul, is to whatever language you want to use, sit in the feeling, acknowledging the feeling, becoming aware of it, and actually accepting that that feeling exists, but making that conscious choice to go, okay, this might feel a little bit uncomfortable for a while, but let's explore this, because once I explore it, once we figure out what it is and I perhaps get some assistance in moving through this, it's not going to exist for me anymore. I'm going to be a much happier, more fulfilled person. So yeah, just breaking through that uncomfortable feeling and acknowledging that it is going to feel a bit rough for a little while, but this is going to give you a major, major breakthrough. So don't avoid it.
Yes, totally. Yeah, exactly. Don't avoid it, acknowledge it, accept it. And this is actually the hardest step for you, because accepting these things is what we run away from, because we don't want to be the bad person. We don't want to be feeling the bad feelings. And it takes a lot of courage to practice radical honesty with ourselves. But when we start to do that, that's when we start to shift things inside ourselves. And hence, we will see the shift in our outer reality.
Absolutely. And this is where a lot of the tools that we talk about in other videos and in on our social media platforms that you can use, such as journaling, breath work, meditation, all of these tools become really, really important when you're working through something like this.
Yeah, perfect. And okay, so now after this, step 2 is to then understand that if you are constantly jealous of someone or other people around you achieving certain things, or if you're constantly comparing yourself, how you look, how you talk, like everything about yourself to someone else, then that means that it's time to dig into your self-esteem. It's time to look at your confidence. It's time to look at your self-worth, self-belief. Like, why is it so easy for anything external to make you doubt yourself, especially if these feelings come up a lot and very often?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is a really, I don't know if you're going to go here yet, Parul, but understanding what's important to us. Because when we are looking outward, of course, and when this jealousy feeling is coming in, like Parul said, this is about us. It's about acknowledging what we're comfortable with and digging into where we're at in our life, because it's very easy to look at someone else and say, oh, well, you know, it's all right for them. They have a successful business, or they have the money to travel all the time, or they don't have kids. You know, it's easy for them to have this wonderful life. But of course, it's going back to, you know, the choices that we've made to get ourselves here, and acknowledging that as well. Again, we talk about awareness and acceptance a lot. It's a big part of this process.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, I would just like to break that down. So step one, awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance. Step two, start to dig into your self-esteem, confidence, self-worth, what's happening inside you. And often there's nothing wrong with us, you know, if we are coming from a place of low self-esteem or low confidence, because it's our conditioning, it's our childhood beliefs, the stuff that happened around us, the how we were made to feel as a child or as a young adult about ourselves. It's things like these, it's factors like these that impact how we shape into an adult, or who we become as an adult. So then being really compassionate with yourself, loving with yourself, and recognizing that there is nothing wrong with you. And all that needs to be done here is to really start to, you know, think about seeking support in whatever form that looks like for you. Like, if you are super independent, super driven, and maybe you want to work on yourself by yourself, sure. But if you feel like accountability will help, or working with someone like us will help, in terms of digging into your thoughts, shifting some beliefs about how you believe, what you think about yourself, maybe looking into some past trauma to start to break that down. And finally, then, like Beck said, you know, coming to a place of clarity. What is it that you want? What are your goals? You know, what are your values? What does success look like to you? What does a relationship or intimacy mean to you? So when you start to get clarity on these things, you will automatically stop being jealous of other people, because you'll realize that we're all on different paths. We are not here competing with each other. We're actually all just busy living our own lives. And so the gold lies in getting clear about what is it that we want and who we are. And as soon as we find that strength and clarity within ourselves, these problems are going to disappear. And we can promise you that.
Yeah, and that's really step 3, isn't it, Parul? That's I love that you touched on that. This idea of what other people's success is. When we're comparing ourselves to people, when we have that feeling of jealousy, it's because we think that what the other person is doing is successful. And we may think, oh, well, they're a great success because of A, B, C, D. But that may not be our path, as you said, Parul. And this is the most important part, and it's what I know I always come back to with my clients, is working out what it is that you value most in life. Because when you know what you value most in life, and that can take some time to get through that process. It's not an easy process if you've never done it before, but it is absolutely gold. It is very valuable, no pun intended. Because when you know what's most important to you, that helps you understand what your purpose in life is. And without purpose, without that why, it's very, very hard to create a path for yourself. You know, you're often living somebody else's values. You're treading somebody else's path, perhaps even based on societal pressures. You know, that whole finish school, leave home, find a partner, go to uni, buy a house, get married, have kids. You know, that might be the path you're on. Is it actually the path that you would have chosen had you gone through this process originally? If this is the path that you're on and you're looking at other people and comparing their lives to yours, then that's being very unfair on yourself, because it's a completely different path, and it's actually not something that you can compare. And understanding your interpretation of success, and I love that you said that, because that's exactly right. You know, Parul, your interpretation of success is likely going to have similar themes to mine, perhaps because we're in the same industry, but it's going to be radically different. You know, it's like, you could say, if we're talking about money, for example, we could both say, I want a super successful business and I want to be wealthy. Now, your wealth, your determination of wealth could be, I want to bring in 100 grand a year. That's wealthy to me. It allows me to do this, that, and the next thing. My interpretation of wealth could be nothing less than $1 million, you know, because it allows me to do these certain things. Now, that is vastly different.
Yeah.
So it's important that we each understand what our definition of success is. And even looking at that in the relationship sense, because that's one of the scenarios that you introduced, Parul. You know, if we are feeling jealous about our partner, or relationships perhaps that our partner has outside of our relationship, it's like, well, let's explore what exactly is it that's making us feel jealous? What do we feel is missing? But flipping it over, and we talk a lot about language and attitude. So flipping that around and not focusing what it is that we don't have, that place of lack that, Parul, you mentioned earlier, but what is it that we actually do want? Let's create some clarity around that, because then we can create some goals around that. And only when we have a goal of what we do want to achieve can we put steps in place to actually get us to that point.
Yeah. So exactly. Completely agree with all of that. And that's it, right? It's like when we have clarity on our direction in life, when we know who we are, what we stand for, we know how to move forward. And when we have that focus, that precision in our mind, we're not just we won't have time to look at other people and compare ourselves. We would be focused, we would want what we want for ourselves, and we would know that looking everywhere else is really just digressing ourselves, distracting ourselves, and wasting our time. So yeah, that's really where the work lies, because it's not like we'll get that clarity in a night. Yes, that's possible, happens with some people, but it is, more often than not, it is constant work. It is a constant commitment to yourself, and it is a constant desire to want to help yourself. So yeah, we hope that this this session has given you some clarity on these feelings and an idea of how to move forward. If this is something that has been a theme in your life lately, or this is something that's been coming up for you, and we'd love to hear from you if this helped, or if you have any questions about this topic, if you want us to chat more about something else, something related to this, then we're all here for your feedback, for your comments.
Let us know if you've got any other particular topics you'd like us to discuss, and see you next time.